Welcome back to another episode of Square State Sandlot. I'm your host, Kyle Gilmore. As always, we got Bill Montoya holding down the fort. We have a special guest with us today, Trent Williams of Trent Williams Outdoors, another local yokel here in Wyoming. We're going to talk about some sports here in a little bit, but before we get too ramped up, we want to hear about Trent Williams Outdoors, how you got started, and kind of what you're all about.
Yeah, I guess in a nutshell, like you guys too, or like a lot of people, it was just me looking in the mirror and trying to figure out what my dreams were. And I was seeing a lot of other people live my dream. And so I kind of decided to do something about it. I don't honestly know when I started this. I think I don't know, 2013, 2015, something like that. And at the time, I just wanted to portray hunting public lands, fishing public waters in a positive light. And I thought I could do that. And obviously, you got to believe in yourself. I still think I can. But that was basically the start of it. Was just, not getting so far removed from what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be a hunting guide. I didn't want to be a fishing guide. I just wanted to, in a perfect world, I wanted to be able to portray what I do for fun in a positive light.
I like it.
And yeah, from what I've seen, definitely do a great job of that.
Well,
I've
thanks.
seen some of your hunting videos and definitely some of those fishing catches. So very impressive work there.
To that point, I got to give you credit. I know you can attest to the hunting shows that we grew up with.
Right.
There's been a modern trend, be it Meat Eater, Stephen Rennell is the main one that jumps out to everybody, but there's been kind of that movement of more authentic and, your host to your hunting show looking like somebody you could also go hunt with, not this grand production. And I always had the hardest time getting into old hunting shows because they were so, cheesy and overdone and just, You felt a disconnect. So I have to give you props because I think you are in that same mold.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
It looks like a hunting buddy was recording it. Obviously a little better quality, but you feel like you are a little more in touch with what you're doing when you watch your videos. So I have to give you props for that for sure.
Well, thanks. Yeah. Those guys, Rennell is the king of I think what everybody's trying to do right now. And there's a handful of guys that do a great job. I wish I was as good as them. I have my wife kind of tag along with me and video some stuff, and that's about as good of a videographer as I get, besides trying to do it all myself. So it's tough to do, but it is rewarding, and it's especially rewarding when people get something from it.
Absolutely. It's I guess while we're on that note, do you have any big plans for this fall or even anything before?
Yeah, I drew Barbary sheep or an aoudad tag in New Mexico. That's about the biggest thing. They're an introduced species, down into southern New Mexico. But I've been trying to hunt them for a long time, and even got a hold of some guys in Texas to go try and hunt them. Kind of tried every avenue I could and finally drew a public land tag. So that'll be a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
I don't really know who's going to tag along with me yet. Everybody's kind of on the fence with this kind of stuff, which is understandable. But between that and then I'll have the draw hasn't happened yet, but I'll have a Colorado elk tag as well for the first time. I'm going in with 10 preference points, and it only takes 7 to draw. So I know I'll have it. If we end up striking gold in Wyoming's draw, then I may actually give that tag back. But for now, that's the plans that are kind of set in stone.
Well, it sounds like you got a busy as usual. You always seem like you're pretty humped up with that stuff. I do got to say, you're wearing one. I got to give you a chance to drop the shameless plug here. You offer hats. Your supplies. I saw your post the other day, or maybe today.
Yeah.
Obviously, with everything going on, supplies are rough. But is that something you're going to be trying to, I guess, have in the future?
Yeah,
I know everybody loves the design.
Yeah, which is great. And I really didn't know how it would. You think of something in your head, and you don't really know how that's going to be taken by other people. But I sold out of my first order of hats quick. I've now made a handful of orders, and I've kind of just, ordered different things and tried to keep everything fresh. But in this case, I actually got asked when I was going to get some more hats by more than a few different people. So I felt like I better make another order. just talking about this with friends and family and talking about what we just did about, the vision I had of kind of more video stuff. I really never even thought that I would be in this avenue to even sell clothing or any of, my sense
I'm
of
sure.
fashion's pretty low. So,
Yeah.
You're not the only one.
yeah. So for people to actually love it is surprising and it's great, obviously. But yeah, so basically, I've got a few more ideas. I'm going to roll out a few shirt designs probably when we get closer to fall and in the winter. But for right now, I've got the hats will be here supposedly tomorrow. They're getting shipped from California right now. So I've got a bunch left if anybody wants them.
I love
Beautiful.
it. We're rooting for you, man. I love just the fact that, of course, where we're from, hunting, fishing, just outdoors in general are so big. But to see a local boy on the magazines. I know you've made a couple. Even just to be doing something you're passionate about, it's fun. So we will be supporting you where we can.
I appreciate
sure.
it.
Yeah,
whether
when you
that
get those
helps or
in, let
not.
us know, and we'll plug that link for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I guess we've kind of talked about what you're doing.
Before we go too much further, do you want to plug your? I think your YouTube channel is just Trent Williams Outdoors, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find on everything. I don't know how far to go into this, but I had what I thought was a pretty cool name called The Y Life a long time ago, and I had all these ideas kind of planned out for that. And then I got an advertisement scrolling through Facebook that somebody had made The Y Life, so I had to kind of backpedal on that. But everything, yeah, I'm easy to find. Everything's pretty much just Trent Williams Outdoors. YouTube's Trent Williams Outdoors. I have a Facebook page that's the same, and then Instagram is at TWilliamsWY.
We'll see if we can't when this goes live, when we drop it tomorrow. We'll see if we can't get some of them slapped up there too.
Cool.
Get the word to the people.
Right.
So I guess we now know who you are, what you're doing. I guess segue to me and Bill's passion project here. We want to talk to you about sports. Starting off, I guess, what sports are you into? What got you into it? And then we'll kind of dive into them a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I love the NFL. Denver Broncos are my team. They always have been from growing up. It helped that, when we were younger, I was younger anyway, that they were awesome. So as far as that, springtime, I transitioned to baseball. Love watching the Colorado Rockies. That's been quite the tough watch lately.
Last couple of years.
Yeah, still have a soft spot in my heart for them. And then I'll support any Wyoming sports as well. But
love it.
NBA I used to be into, can't really even stomach it anymore, and trying to be a hockey fan, especially right now. But
who's your team in hockey? Avalanche?
I'm just pulling for the Avalanche because they're local and they seem to be really good, and I'm trying to kind of not be too much of a bandwagon fan, but.
No, that's a good time to get in.
That's it.
Well, I probably don't want to tell you who my teams are, but let's just say all my teams
wanted to make a comment when you started, but
all my teams are local to the Bay Area, and that is they all used to be in Oakland, but obviously the Raiders are now in Vegas. We got the Warriors in San Francisco, and then the Sharks are, San Jose. A's are still in Oakland for now, but they might be going to Vegas or Nashville or somewhere else. So we'll see. But I won't hold it against you. You're a Broncos fan. I promise.
Yeah, I was just about. I don't know how far into the age you want to go, but I don't even know. I don't know what to say about them. Yeah.
The only thing that makes me happy is having you two on here. I don't feel as lonely in my baseball fandom because we're all unhappy. So all my teams are out of Pittsburgh. So.
Your Pirates just beat my Rockies too.
I didn't want to bring it up.
Yeah.
I like the Rockies because we are competitive. Our games look good.
Yeah.
Both sides. You guys won one of the three.
The only World Series I've been to so far is the Rockies back in, what was that, 2007, I think?
7, yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a soft spot for them. I'm definitely not a Rockies fan, but I love Coors Field. And
I love the venue. Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to beat Coors Field. You can beat it, but not that I've been to.
Yeah, I just went on Saturday. They played the Mets, or Sunday. Well, Saturday they did too, I guess, a doubleheader. But Sunday they played the Mets, and that's the same thing. I was telling my wife, see that, see that seat way up there in the rock pile, the one at the very end of the stadium. That's where I sat. No, I sat there in '09 when they went to the playoffs, and I was in
That's
Laramie.
awesome.
But
Yeah,
that's as close as I've got to it too. Last game of the year, they of course lost while I was there. So
That's
yeah.
always fun.
When we went to that World Series, my boss let me basically use 5 different computers at work to try to get into the queue for the tickets because they were doing that online queue.
yeah,
Ended up getting 2 of them, so me and a buddy went to them. And I mean, we were in the rock pile, but hell, it's World Series, you can't beat that. So.
right, yeah.
Well, while we're on that, I guess let's. I want to hear your thoughts on all these teams. Let's jump into them and kind of hear who your favorite players are. And
Okay.
we kind of
Let's
talked
start
about
with the
Rockies a
Broncos.
little bit. Yeah.
Just because I feel like everyone's picking them as a dark horse to go to the Super Bowl and all that fun stuff. Obviously, they haven't been since
How
Peyton
painful
Manning
was it for you to say that?
retired. But trust me, you could hear me just trying to get that out. But what are your thoughts on what the Broncos have done this offseason and just go to that?
Okay. I mean, it's hard not to like what they've done. This is just the point where being a Broncos fan, you start to feel, I don't even know what the right word is, a little bit guilty because you whine and complain when they don't do anything during the offseason. Then now it just feels like, they can't grow a franchise quarterback to save their life. So you just go out and buy one. Started with Peyton.
Well,
now
it's worked before.
Yeah, exactly. It'll work. Just, I hate to basically that's now the franchise just go pick up the best quarterback. But otherwise, I mean, like I said, otherwise I'd be complaining they didn't do anything, and I'd be complaining about Drew Lock. So I guess the flip side is a whole lot better.
He's a tough watch, I'll tell you that.
He is.
Well, and that's a fair point. I mean, it's I always call it the Matthew Stafford effect because I think you're going to see that moving forward. But at the same time, you guys were a team that, I mean, your defense is sound. The rest of your team's set up pretty good. You are a quarterback away, in essence, for competing with that division. So
right,
it was a good spot for him, too. I mean, we'll see how it plays out, obviously. But I don't know. It's a crazy pickup. Not
yeah,
where I thought he was going to go.
The only thing I wish they would have done, which is more of a nostalgia pickup than anything else, was went back and got Vaughn. I mean, he was basically begging to come back to the Broncos. And I don't know how big of a pay cut he would have taken, but that just would have been neat to see. I think last year they said, and I don't have any reason to believe it's not the truth, but he was the last player from the Super Bowl 50 team that was even still on the team.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, now it's a completely brand new team.
Well, I don't think he was going to get 6 years and 120 million if you were bringing Russell Wilson in. So it would have been quite the pay cut. And obviously, I think that's why it didn't work out for both sides. I think both sides wanted it to happen, but at the same time, you don't want to make veteran minimum when you can get 20 million a year elsewhere.
Yeah, and I didn't think he had a 6-year deal in him, but I guess
I don't think he does still.
No.
We'll see how that plays
Neither
out.
do the Bills, to be fair.
It's set up that way.
They gave him essentially what's a 3-year deal, but with 3 fairy tale years tagged on the end for cap reasons.
Right, exactly.
It's how it works, though. I mean, it's a good contract for both. But so I guess let me ask you this. I guess you mentioned Von Miller, but is there anything else you would have liked to have seen the Broncos do?
I mean,
any position, I guess, whatever.
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head. I mean, I really like their receiving core. They brought Melvin Gordon back for another year, it looks like. So they've got
contract.
They've got the same 1-2 punch they had last year. The defense, like you guys mentioned, is solid. So, I mean, really, just with the addition of Wilson, makes you feel pretty good about the whole thing.
Yeah. No, it's tough to fault them. I think their only issues going forward are going to be you have a new head coach with a new offensive system. You got a new quarterback. So I think if they can get off to a hot start, they'll be in it at the end. But if they get off to that 2-6 start or something, I don't think they're going to do that. They have too good of a team. But if they get off to a slow start, it's going to be tough to overcome the division that they're in. So that's my only concern with the Broncos right now. And obviously they gave up some talent with acquiring Russell Wilson as well. I mean, most of them were role players, but you gave up your tight end one as well. So
correct. Yep.
So as far as your active roster, I mean, who are you watching on the Broncos right now? I mean, what players are you following?
I would say probably my favorite player is Tim Patrick. I've always gravitated towards like the more humble guys, I guess.
For sure.
The showboat style, doesn't really do it for me. But Tim, I believe he was undrafted free agent, and came in and has turned heads, and I don't have a bad thing to say about the guy. As far as, I mean, favorite players in the NFL, I don't even know how many of them are on the Broncos. We mentioned Von Miller going to the Bills. I mean, I probably, like you guys, I love watching Josh Allen. That's become everybody's second favorite team, I think. So, love watching a lot of guys around the league. And I think in sports as a whole, not to get too sidetracked, but the loyalty aspect has really taken a back seat, even down to, college sports. So it's tough to get too attached to a player anymore in any facet of sports.
By the time you do, they're shipped out.
That's it.
Yeah. It's definitely a tough landscape, but Kyle and I think, are both pro players, so we try not to hold it against our favorite players for walking, especially when it makes financial sense for them.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, do I want to raise? Yeah, I want to raise.
Exactly. If I could use my talents to go to another company and make twice what I can make at my current one, I would for sure do it. But
all right, I got one last. Oh, sorry, Bill. Keep going.
No, go ahead. I
was just gonna say I got one last thing on the subject of the Broncos. All right, Trent, I want you to give me 1, 2, 3, and 4 for that division this year. Bill, plug your ears.
Oh. And if you say Raiders 4, we're going to end this right now. No, I'm just kidding.
It's a tough call. It's a hard division.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I don't know how you feel. I've seen a lot of negative stuff about Derek Carr, but I kind of like the guy, truthfully.
We both like
him. I love him. As a person, I cannot speak high enough of him. So,
team player for
sure. Right. So I have to put Broncos 1, Chiefs 2, and then we'll throw Raiders 3, and
thank God,
put the Chargers 4.
What a nice guy! What a nice guy! Yeah. All right, we beat up the Broncos enough, I guess, a little bit.
No, it wouldn't surprise me if it was that order.
But that's the thing; it could be any order.
Well, and I think it's going to be like 2 games separating top to bottom in that division. So, if you have a rough stretch here or there, it might put you at the bottom of that division real quick. So it's going to be interesting. I think everyone's going to have their eyes on the AFC West this year, and that's one thing that's super exciting for me. Obviously, I'm 2.5 hours from Vegas, so I'm going to go down there and see a game or two if I can this season. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the Chiefs don't look like on paper quite the team they were last year, but they're still the Chiefs.
Deadly.
So.
They still have Andy Reid. They still have Mahomes. They had a great draft class on paper, but as we know, games aren't played on paper. So they're going to need some contributions from that draft class if they're going to be at the top of the division. Quite honestly, I don't see them being at 1 this year. So
I think they're going to get dethroned. All right, well, let's move on to your Rockies. Diving into those guys, I got to ask, what were your thoughts on Trevor Story leaving?
Yeah, I mean, that's back to not necessarily loyalty, but the players that the fans gravitate towards, and there's only a few of them really, really left on the Rockies, and they just confuse me. I mean, I don't pay as much attention as I probably could, but you let go of Trevor Story, and then they immediately bring in Chris Bryant, and I had no idea.
We talked about it.
Zero idea that was coming at all. So if it was a money aspect, I mean, I understand the positions are different, but they have, it seems like, plenty of outfielders and needed a bat, which I understand because they just let go of Story. So I just don't understand why they didn't spend that money there to keep a player that the fans liked. And Chris Bryant still hasn't hit a home run as a Rocky, and he's back on the injured list.
He's out, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. He came back for a game. The game I went to, I think he was off the injured list the day before. He started Sunday, and he hasn't started since, and he's back on the injured list. So Not to say, I mean, I've loved Chris Bryant too, watching him from afar.
Absolutely.
It's just hasn't yet transpired in Rockies land.
I'm actually really glad you said that because we were scratching our heads pretty bad in that move. And especially because he is such a fan favorite, or was, I guess. I mean, I still find myself rooting for him, and as sick as that makes me going for Boston, or at least him once in a while, he's just a fun player to watch. So that was a gut punch for sure.
He got off to a pretty slow start in Boston as well. I think he's heated up recently, but no, that was a move that was, definitely a head scratcher. I mean, you let Story go, you're still paying Arenado, I think, $60 million over the rest of his contract, and then you bring in a high-priced free agent like Chris Bryant. So there was a lot of moves there that didn't make a ton of sense. I mean, I know you're not going to get too many free agent pitchers to go to Coors Field because of how hitter-friendly that park is, but seems like money that could have been spent better elsewhere. But it seemed like what I like to call an AIS signing, which is ass in seats.
That's what it is too.
That's very well. That's the only thing it really boils down to, I think.
Yeah. Well, and as much as I hate the terminology, I mean, I can relate obviously with Pittsburgh. You got to do what you can to get people in the seats right now. I mean, you can't do it in Oakland. Just kidding, Bill.
Well, we'll talk about that more on our next one.
We'll get wild.
Because I'm so sick of hearing about that in Oakland. And it's like,
it's crazy to me some of the sides people take. But I guess as far as your Rockies, then, I mean, I guess where do you see them going from here? I mean, is it a rebuild? Are they just trying to keep the lights on? What do you think's going on?
Like I mentioned in the beginning, they've confused me so bad the last few years with the Arenado trade, with what they did this year. They had like Herman Marquez loves the place. They had him sign. He's an ace pitcher. Freeland wants to stay. Sometimes he gets on my nerves, but as far as starting pitchers go in Colorado, he's done a good job. So they do have a few pieces that I just felt like, at least pitching's always the bugaboo in Colorado. Always has been, as far as I've been a fan. Yeah, and you guys mentioned it. Nobody wants to go there, so they got to grow pitchers. And this year kind of felt like that. I guess they did with the contract extensions they handed out. So I had a little more promise when the year started. I mean, it sucked when Story left. Chris Bryant coming in, I thought they had some pieces in the bullpen, and as of right, that just hasn't really come to fruition, and I doubt it will. They seem to always get to a hot start in April. It's fizzled, and I'd be doing nothing but grasping at straws if I even tried to guess on their next moves. So, I mean, the only thing they got left really is to ship out Blackman, and that's about the last loyal Rocky they've got that they could rebuild on. So, I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, and it's tough to be in a division with the Dodgers spending close to $300 million on their payroll. Denver's obviously a decent sized market, but it's not LA. And then you have the Padres and the Giants that won 107 games last year. So it's a really tough division to try to compete in right now. So I'm surprised they even went out and signed Chris Bryant. It seems like more of a better idea to just start the rebuild and get it over with. But I guess Bryant at least gives the fans the illusion that they're willing to spend money and then keep them entertained somewhat, while probably not putting too much other resources into the payroll right now and getting those higher draft picks and hopefully rebuilding in the next couple of years. But it seems like every time that the Dodgers, someone's starting to age out, they buy two more players. So it's pretty tough division to be in.
I mean, it works.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
What did you think about that Trevor Bauer suspension? 2 years.
I mean, I didn't read enough into it to really have much of an opinion. I know I hated him when he was pitching against the Rockies, so that's about as far as I could go on that. But
I think that's where a lot of people struggle, like splitting it. is everyone has their hate of facing him and the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it piles on top of everything else. Because I'm the same way. I was like, good. And then the more I start thinking about it, I'm like, maybe it's a little heavy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
See, and he was actually starting to become one of my favorite players because he was actually vocal about speaking out about the problems in baseball right now and how he would like to see things change and things like that. And then this comes out, it's like, well, if this stuff is true, obviously there wasn't enough evidence or whatever to prosecute him in the court, but he still has the, I don't know, civil case still outstanding, I think. So it's tough for me to say I liked him, but at the same time, if it was not true, then if he's losing 2 years of his career, and quite honestly, I don't think anyone's going to re-sign him after this, even if his appeal goes through and it's reduced or even gotten rid of. It's going to be tough optics for any team that's willing to sign him or bring him back. I think the Dodgers are able to void his contract at this point, so definitely an interesting situation, but that could shake up the NL West for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I mean, we're a long ways from seeing how it pans out, but
yeah. Well, he should have his appeal seen here pretty soon. I never saw a date on it, but I would imagine that's coming up soon.
Seen anything.
Well, and you usually don't see this kind of thing in baseball necessarily, or very rarely. But in other sports, like you're saying, it's tough for players to dig themselves out of that hole or climb their way back or however you want to put it. But
in the NFL, they just get $230 million fully guaranteed
that's
contracts.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Jesus. Yeah. Speaking of which, I think MLB coming down on Trevor Bauer is going to lead the NFL to having to come down on Deshaun Watson. So it would not surprise me at all to see him miss half the season, if not more.
I don't think he plays this year. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think they have rights to him, and that's all that contract is right now.
Yeah. So that'll be really disappointing for all the Browns fans, but I think Kyle will be happy.
So happy.
They're Browns fans. They're used to being disappointed at this point,
Just another name on the back of that.
Is on that draft day.
Exactly. True. They win the draft every year, but it doesn't typically pan out.
Pick one every year. All right, let's dive into.
All right, let's quit shitting on the Browns for a minute.
Yep.
Let's talk about the brown and gold.
I know the one thing I want to know for sure. We've talked about it a little bit on here, but have you followed the transfer portal at all?
Followed it? No. I mean, I know I've cussed it plenty of times, but as far as following it real closely and knowing the rules in and out, no. It's another thing where, it's like it's a professional sports type deal in college. Is how it feels.
It's crazy. I know. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on here, but I mean, being a Wyoming fan, it's obviously terrifying. There, people, obviously the concern is they're going to come here, use it as a tryout, and then jump somewhere else because it's happened. We lost. How many people did we lose? Like in that first 2 weeks, 7 players.
I'm looking here. I know we lost
all the quarterbacks. Yeah.
Levi Williams. One of technically Sean Chambers too.
Well,
he wasn't going to play, and then Xavier Valade. Yeah, we lost. So starting running back, starting quarterback, backup quarterback, and one of the best wide receivers that has ever graced the field in Wyoming.
The one thing I never thought would happen, and we've actually talked to him a little bit, but Keelan Cox, defensive tackle out of Alabama, he actually transferred to Wyoming. So I'm dying to get more information on that. I'm curious. I never thought people would utilize the portal to come to Wyoming. I thought it would be only negative. So we'll see where that goes.
So you guys know a whole lot more about it than I do, or probably the average person. But is it going to change? I mean, is it changing back, or is this just the way college sports is going to be for indefinite?
Quite honestly, I think where this ends up in the next 5 years, I think it's going to be more of a semi-professional league, because from the sounds of it, none of the heads of or commissioners of the existing conferences in NCAA, they don't have much of a reason for the NCAA at this point. So
Not
with all the
anymore.
money that's flowing through these NIL deals, I mean, you're essentially paying players to play for your schools anyway. So I think what's and this is, I don't know, maybe this is me just being like a conspiracy theorist or something, but I think what's going to end up happening is you'll see teams basically paying to use the image and likeness of the school. Maybe they have the football stadium since they already exist at the schools and just using their facilities and paying, and this is essentially going to be a NFL minor league scenario.
Well, and I'm glad you said that because honestly, the only thing I think that prevents this getting out of hand is you would have to implement a semi-pro league, be it a minor league team for every NFL team. That's why you don't see this, as big in other type sports. But your basketball and football is going to be hit hard with this.
Yep.
That's the only way I see that going away is to implement some kind of a semi-pro league that feeds the NFL. But then they're losing money on how the draft goes, and I mean it's a whole big, windstorm of money talk basically. But I agree,
Well,
it's
and
it's about the only way it could stop is if they do some form of semi-pro or it turns into one.
from what I've been hearing, there's essentially kind of like the NFL draft where slots are basically determining what you get paid. So, from what I've heard, there's like slots for positions and what they're worth in NIL deals. So, you have the top, and they haven't named who this is, but if I were to say the top quarterback prospect that's out there right now is worth $8 million in the NIL market, who would you say that is? Any
Oh
guesses?
man, I get probably a boy out of Alabama.
I'll give you a
Yeah.
hint. He has two people in the NFL that are possibly one's a for sure Hall of Famer, also played for the Broncos, and his brother also might make the Hall of Fame, beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice, shares the same last name with those guys.
I'm stumped. Who?
Arch Manning.
Oh duh. Oh duh.
Yeah.
I can't believe I missed that one.
So Arch Manning, there's rumors out there that he's worth $8 million in NIL money,
Which is insane too.
and he
I
hasn't
mean,
played a snap in college. So
name
and
brand, dude.
yeah,
Holy
well,
cow.
and he's from all reports he has the goods too, but
Yeah.
that's insane. Like you make $8 million before ever stepping on an NFL football field. Like there's first round draft picks that are making that over the course of their 4 year
Well, and
deal.
I will say that's one other thing that I absolutely hate about it is how many players come into the NFL and it's the first time they've had money in their life and where that leads. So
Yep,
now you're talking about that kind of money in an even younger kid's life.
exactly.
I mean, I'm not
Yeah, no,
saying that
it's
younger people shouldn't have money, but it's like, man, you're really opening the door to some things here because he gets $8 million. He have no reason to listen to anybody.
yep. No,
Yeah, and
I mean,
back to the transfer portal stuff. I mean, it's basically just a trickle down effect of the loyalty card I threw out before.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
I
getting
mean,
lost in all levels. So
and to be fair, college you're kind of used to that because the longest anyone's going to stay with your team is 4 years, so you don't get too
right,
attached to players anyway. I mean, so it's not going to hurt. I don't think it's going to hurt college sports as much as it's going to hurt it's already hurt NFL and NBA for fan loyalty and stuff. A lot of the people that have been fans of teams, as soon as the team starts to suck, well, their player left and went to this team, so that's who I'll cheer for now. But one thing I will say is, like Kyle alluded to, we thought it was going to be really bad for University of Wyoming, but Wyoming has put a couple of NFL players in the recent years, so I think that's helped bring a couple of these guys. Keelan Cox,
Yeah.
defensive end from Alabama, that guy's going to be an absolute stud in the Mountain West Conference. And he brought his buddy from USC, Chase Locke, They're both from Texas. He brought him with him. So I think Wyoming's probably just seeing what they've returned, as long as that quarterback they got from Utah State, Andrew Peasley, as long as he plays decent, I think they're going to have a really good season and probably challenge Boise State and all those other power teams from the Mountain West Conference to a title here. So it's exciting to see, and hopefully the momentum keeps up. I think it will on the defensive side, because what they're doing on defense is obviously succeeding in the NFL. You've seen Muma, Wilson, and plenty others, Tyler Hall, just in the last couple of years, for example.
I mean, that's all fine and well on defense, but you are very optimistic with the 6 plays that we call.
Hey,
sorry.
I was told that the only reason we only called 6 plays is because we didn't have any faith in the guys throwing the football. So
I can see that. I can see it.
I can't, because Williams threw the ball better than Chambers, but it's fine.
Yeah, but neither one of them neither one's Josh Allen. We'll just put it that way.
Well, even when they had Josh Allen, it took 4 NFL players to make that offense even decent, which is why when they got rid of Vegan, I was like, this is the best day ever.
Yeah.
But then, you had Bull dip into his back pocket for all his old buddies from the 1990s, and here we are.
Gotta love it. Yeah, I mean, that is a good point, and that's something obviously a lot of us are super proud of, kind of the influx of UW players. And honestly, I mean, Josh Allen did a lot, doing what he's doing, but I really do think that Logan Wilson to Chad Muma is going to be bigger for the school. To put 2 players out, same position, for the same assets, people are looking at them in the same way. I mean, it's really cool getting some notoriety I always watch draft day every year, the whole weekend. And to actually hear people talk about the University of Wyoming and the product they put out of their linebacker core, it's just new. It's different. We had flash in the pan kind of thing where, Tashawn Gibson, he played in the league for a while. He had a good career. So, I mean, we had players that made it, but we're in foreign territory here to an extent.
I always thought Javon Bownight was going to be the next.
Oh, man, me too. I loved him.
I think everybody did.
Till he ran a 4.9 40 at the combine or something, and they told him he was too slow.
Yeah. Let's have you try that again. Yep, you're as slow as an offensive lineman. All right. Back to Wyoming with you.
Yeah. That's all right. It's just good seeing. I mean, it's just like Josh Allen. We knew he was special, obviously before anybody else did. But it's just good seeing, national media actually start covering us. So it's exciting. I hope we keep putting players out.
Well, and
the folks are good. The fall is a whole lot better for everybody. Myself mostly. I can sit up there on the mountain and listen to Wyoming games and be a whole lot more happy than having to skip them or getting pissed off at them.
Yeah, that's for sure.
For sure. Well, and then the basketball program's definitely on the way up as well.
Right.
Jeff Linder, and he just signed that extension, so he'll be there for probably at least the next 2 to 3 years, even if he is offered a larger contract elsewhere. So great to see that he'll be back, and I think that program's headed in the right direction as well. But with that being said, give us some of your favorite all-time athletes and why they're your favorite all-time.
You talking from Wyoming or anywhere?
Doesn't matter. Broncos, Rockies, whatever.
I guess that early to mid 2000s is where a lot of my favorite guys are going to be. I love watching Terrell Davis, Ed McCaffrey, Rod Smith. Love watching John Lynch just light people up on defense. Love Champ Bailey. As far as the Rockies go, Todd Helton was one of my favorites. He's one of those guys. I don't think he ever said a word while he was on the baseball diamond unless somebody had to hear it,
You didn't mention old Horseface.
Who's that?
Don't say who's that. You know who I'm talking about.
LA. Bill loves LA so much. Oh, terrible.
I'm not talking about Sarah Jessica Parker. I'm talking about the football player.
Who else you got? God damn it, Bill.
Well, yeah. Let's see. Let me try and get back on track. I get pretty much that. I mean, I loved Arenado when he was at the Rockies. As far as we mentioned some from Pokeland, Bo Knight was one of my favorites. As far basketball, I used to love basketball growing up, and especially obviously, when they were good. They had Josh Davis, Jay Strait, Justin Williams is one of my favorites. I became fascinated watching him block shots. So I mean, I guess all those teams that had at least a little bit of a run and made NCAA tournament or made the NIT or whatever was stick in my brain. But lately, like you said, the programs finally, as far as basketball, they're on the way up. But there hasn't been a whole lot to cheer about on the basketball side for a lot of years.
Yeah, no, Linder and Maldonado and Graham Ike. I think all three of them. Well, obviously Linder's coming back, but I think Maldonado and Ike will come back. Drake Jeffries, he's going to the NBA, which kind of surprised me. I mean, I saw that he had the tools, but I think another year probably would have suited him. But I mean, it'll be exciting to see what they can bring in. I know they brought in I think they brought in 2 from USC and 1 transfer from UCLA. So they're being picked as early favorites for the Mountain West Conference Championship this upcoming season, pending other moves from other teams. But I think it's going to be a good year to be a Pokes fan for sure.
Yeah, what's Maldonado on about his 7th or 8th year?
He's a super senior, I think.
Yeah.
He got the COVID year, right?
He don't need no MBA. He's holding on. He's just going to stay there and transition to coaching or something. Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Anything else that you had, Kyle? Or I think we missed the "How did you fall in love with sports?" question.
we jumped it.
We did jump it.
I guess, yeah. I mean, growing up and stuff. What was you talked about basketball a little bit, but I guess as our parting note, what got you into sports? What did you play? And
what really got me into sports was my uncle. As far as Wyoming sports is concerned, we used to go. Well, I'd go over almost every basketball game and listen to it on the radio, take stats. And we do the same thing with football, just without the stats. But Wyoming games weren't on TV very much back then, and sitting around listening to Dave and Kevin. I mean, Dave's eyes are finally starting to go, I think, but he's still a treat to listen to on the radio.
Agreed.
Growing up, I played baseball, probably about like everybody, but I didn't watch it that much. That run in 2007 is what made me a Rockies fan. Before that, I really didn't even watch professional baseball. So yeah, I guess my first love was the Wyoming sports, and then watching these guys transition into the NFL or the NBA and kind of latching onto them from there. And like I mentioned before, I mean, the Broncos were good when I was younger. That made that easier to watch. They were on every Sunday as the local station, so made that simple too. But yeah, I mean, I remember shedding tears after Wyoming games, and so I was pretty well attached back then. But now, I mean, it just has transitioned to my priorities are different. I have a family now, and then with I guess just more concentrated on my own thing than I am sports as much as I was back then.
Yeah. No, and I think the first time that we actually semi-hung out was we would do the basketball at the rec center every Tuesday, I think it was, back when I was still in Wyoming. So I think that's where we overlapped a little bit. Are you still doing that or no?
I haven't done that for years. I hear probably about, I don't know, once every – I think some guys did it last year or maybe the year before. I don't know. Maybe COVID shut it all down, but I got texted a couple times, within the last handful of years, see if I wanted to go up there, and I never made it back.
Pickup game.
But, man, they were pretty intense when you got all the guys that used to play basketball out there.
Yeah.
Everyone trying
Everybody
to
had
be
something
NBA
forward.
legends again.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think we knocked everything we want to talk about. Is there anything else you want to say before we let you go, Trent?
No, just I mean, thanks for thinking of me and having me on and letting me ramble about sports that I don't know near as much as I probably used to know. But
That's all right. We do it all the time.
right. So, but yeah,
uh,
thanks for having me on, and thanks for letting me plug all my stuff, and just had a great time with you guys. I appreciate it.
no, thank you. I mean, we love having people on. So just anybody, Bill probably gets tired of talking to me every day, but it's fun to shoot the shit with people. Other than that, though, get us your information. We can send it out with the posts and stuff.
Okay.
Um, Anybody listening, throw some questions out for Trent, and we'll try to pass them along.
Yeah. And when you get your new stock in, just let us know. If you got a link that goes to all your shops or whatever you got going, we'll post
Okay.
that with this, and everyone will, I'm sure, be happy to check that stuff out. Get one of those beautiful hats.
Right on.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, man. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Kyle, it was great to have you on again, and we'll catch up with you guys next time.